All right. Welcome back, Still a Nation, man. Thanks for taking time to spend a little time with me. I always appreciate that. And got a quick video here for you, man. You guys see the title. I'm going to talk about some key things that Mike Tomlin talked about in his end of the year press conference. Unfortunately for Still a Faithful, that it came yet again without having a playoff victory, another trip to the playoffs, and no playoff win to boot. And listen, that it's definitely not something that you can sneeze at. The Steelers are now 0-5 in their last playoff appearances. I get all of that, and I know some people are sick and tired of Mike Tomlin. Hey, I get all of that. I get how you feel. Like I said, man, I've said this several times. It's been 17 years. And, if change were to happen, I wouldn't be disappointed. Even though I am a fan of Mike Tomlin, I will definitely acknowledge the good and the bad. Yes, the Steelers have not had a losing, quote unquote, losing season in 17 seasons. However, yeah, you got to look at the playoff victories or lack thereof. They have not won since 2016. So it's not like I don't acknowledge that. I get it. But, it's like I've said many times over. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I do not think, have any intentions of getting rid of Mike Tomlin, not at this juncture. We'll talk about that here in a moment. So let's dive right into, a lot of the things that transpired in this press conference. Listen. First and foremost, Mike Tomlin came out and said that he will not be walking away. And again, I don't know where that narrative came from. I know Jay Glazer and other guys like that, was putting out that narrative. Mike Tomlin put that to bed, and he said he has no desire at this juncture to step away. He has 1 year under his contract. And not only did he say he wasn't going to step away, he also alluded to the fact that he definitely feels like a new deal will happen when it's supposed to happen. He sounds very confident that he will be extended. And he said, hey, I'm not scared of being jobless. That's pretty much what he said. That doesn't scare me. So clearly him and the Rooneys have talked, and it's all intentions are to extend Mike Tomlin for the foreseeable future. And we'll see. And even if it doesn't happen, one thing that you know for sure is that he will be the coach in 2024. So if you're not a fan of Mike Tomlin, hey, I understand it, but it is what it is. You're stuck with him. So you're going to be pissed off for the foreseeable future. What else did Mike Tomlin say? Let me get to my notes, guys. I just want to talk about the key things that he pointed out. Biggest thing, the biggest news, and I'll say that now, because I know people don't watch the entire video. So let's get right to it. They will be looking for outside candidates for the offensive coordinator position. Round of applause for that, Mike Tomlin. And my round of applause isn't working. Didn't turn on my stream deck as I see. But round of applause to Mike Tomlin for finally going outside to look for candidates at offensive coordinator. This is something that a lot of us have been critical in regards to Mike Tomlin's tenure and how he's handled his coaching staff and who he's hired and hiring from within. Well, we can no longer say that. We'll have to wait to see if it happens. But he comes out and he says that is the intention, is to look at outside candidates. And one of the reporters asked, well, did the inside guys, speaking of Eddie Faulkner and Mike Sullivan, do enough? And he was like, not at this juncture. He loves that word junction. He said, not at this juncture. They will be looking for outside candidates. So the question really becomes, who are those candidates? I mean, there's quite a few people out there. I mean, guys like Kellen Moore ring a bell to me, and I'll just use him as the one example, only because we saw the type of production that he was able to produce in Dallas. Maybe didn't have the same level of success with the Chargers, and I could be wrong by that. I didn't watch many of their games, but I didn't feel like their offense was as explosive. And again, it may have been, but you guys know Kellen Moore, his claim to fame is really from what he did with the Cowboys. And I wouldn't mind having somebody like that. But I really just want somebody who's going to come in. And even like Mike Tomlin said, I have it noted here. He says he wants someone with versatility and to be dynamic. And that's all I ask for. No offense is 100% guaranteed, but you just want to see some versatility and you want to see some dynamic things happening from time to time. This is what you have grown to love with a lot of the more successful offenses, is that they can keep you off balance and they can utilize their entire personnel. And that's what I'm hoping to see. So we shall see who those candidates are once the time period comes and the Steelers go out there and start looking, and they make their hire. We all shall see who that will be. Let's keep our eyes very, very close to seeing who comes in the door and who doesn't. The next thing I'll talk about here is Kenny Pickett. Mike Tomlin said Kenny Pickett is still QB1, but he also said, and I wrote this down, there will certainly be competition, and he seemed to emphasize that. He said there will certainly be competition. That is a good thing. Now, what do we know? We already know that right now, as it sits today, the Pittsburgh Steelers have Kenny Pickett under contract, obviously being the first-round pick a couple years ago. They also have Mitch Trubisky, which I refer to him as number 10. Number 10 is under contract, and I would expect him to no longer be a part of the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's just my opinion. Get that cap up off of your cap space hit or what have you. And yeah, what has he done? What has he done? That has turned out to be one of the worst contracts that the Steelers have signed here lately. But then also you have a Mason Rudolph who is not under contract, who is the guy who led the Steelers into battle their last 4 games, who in the last 3 games played pretty well. You wasn't too high, wasn't too low. Played pretty well. Was responsible for allowing the offense to have back-to-back games where they produced 30 or more points. Looked like the bright spot. They went into the playoff game with Mason Rudolph as the hot hand, threw a couple touchdowns, and there you have it. Listen, they need to try to get him back under contract, and that's another thing that Mike Tomlin said. They acknowledge that he is a free agent, but they would love to remain business, and keep business with Mason Rudolph and have him remain on the team. So it'd be very interesting if the competition is just Mason Rudolph, or is Mike Tomlin alluding to bringing in another veteran? Are they alluding to possibly drafting a guy? I wouldn't expect it to be early, but definitely want to keep our eyes on that. What does he mean by competition? And he also went into saying that year 3 will be a huge one for Kenny Pickett, which we all expect. It's still a nation. We all know that number 3, the third year is the year in which you have to really prove yourself. And this is what I said. Remember, beginning the 2023 season, I said the same thing about Najee Harris. I said Najee Harris is going to need a decent, or at least a big season. And with him averaging 1,000 yards 3 years in a row, I think maybe he's done enough to possibly earn the 5th-year option, or are they going to be looking to extend his contract? We shall see. But particularly with the first-round pick of Kenny Pickett and at the quarterback position, he is absolutely going to need year 3 to be special. If not, I think the Steelers definitely move on. I definitely also think they're going to give him an opportunity and give him a chance with the new offensive coordinator to see what he has. Because again, first round investment. I know some people hate Kenny Pickett. They don't like him as the quarterback, but you got to understand from a business standpoint, you can't move on that quick. They're going to give him a shot with the new OC, and if it doesn't pan out, they wash their hands and they start the process over again. What else do I have? I think that might be about it. Last thing I'll talk about, man, Mike Tomlin also did point out that Presley Harvin's, his punting was not consistent enough. He said, listen, I will definitely acknowledge that he was not consistent. He was not the standard. So I would expect them to also be looking for a new punter. I think they are about to do that with Presley Harvin. They're going to wash their hands of him. He has not panned out. He hasn't been consistent. There have been games where he's kicked well, but then he's just too inconsistent. And a lot of times it happens in game. There's times where he's up and there's times that he's down in the same game. And you can't afford to have an inconsistent punter in today's NFL, especially the way the Steelers attempt to play it more defensively when it's a ball control and a field position type of game. You cannot have a punter that's inconsistent. And that is exactly what Presley Harvin was for the year of 2023. Outside of that, man, again, the last thing I'll just emphasize, again, guys, Mike Tomlin seems to be very confident that an extension will be done. I do understand. Yes, I definitely understand how you guys feel. For those who hate Mike Tomlin, I get it. The playoff resume isn't stellar. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's 8-10 all time, which is not horrible, but it's not great. It's a losing playoff record, right? We got to the Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl, went back a couple years later, lost that one, for whatever reason you want to call it. And we haven't really had any success since then. The last time we really felt like there was a run happening was when you get to the AFC Championship game in 2016. You go up there to New England and get embarrassed defensively. And then the next time, you have a 13-3 season. I like to call it the 14-2 season because, yes, Jesse James caught it. And you get bounced out after having a bye at home against Blake Bortles and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, listen, there is a plethora of reasons why teams lose football games. I am one that always says coaches get too much credit when they win, too much blame when they lose. But you cannot look past the fact that you are the head coach. And a lot of it, we have to look at you to rectify. And we haven't gotten that done. 0-5, I understand that. But for those of you who are fans of Mike Tomlin, listen, man, consistency sometimes is better than, playing a guessing game. Do I think Mike Tomlin is a good coach? I absolutely do. Do I think Mike Tomlin could coach to another Super Bowl? Yeah, I think with the right roster, it could happen. I think it's possible that it could happen now with the combination of Tomlin and Omar Khan, considering what Omar Khan has done already in his early tenure as a GM. So, like I said on my Terrible Towel Tuesday show, as you can see, I'm promoting it there in the upper right corner there. Listen, I wasn't going to be upset if he left, and I wasn't going to be upset if he stayed. That's where I'm at with it. Yeah, it's frustrating not winning, but I do still think that there's a chance for the Steelers to make a run and perhaps get a Super Bowl victory at some point with Mike Tomlin at the helm. And we shall see. We shall see. But outside of that, man, the last thing I will speak on again is outside candidates. That is the biggest topic that I took away from his end of the year press conference. Hey, thank you. Finally, you infuse somebody new with a different outlook that's not homebred. And hopefully it'll be somebody, like he said, to quote his words, versatile and dynamic. And we shall see. All right, but that's all I got for this particular video, man. Of course, if you haven't already, if you like what you see here, make sure you hit that like button. If you like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And last but not least, make sure you turn on your notification bell to be aware of videos like these that are uploaded, as well as when I'm live, like Terrible Towel Tuesday. All right, outside of that, guys, I thank you for tuning in like always. And of course, get active in those comments and let me know what you think. Until next time, peace.